Hello everyone, this is Science of Speech and this is our second interview with our therapist, Mrs. Shimla. So madam, we are going to break down the ways of how the human breathes. It's quite a complex system. Now, when we take breathing, we can take vocal cords and diaphragm, lots of things. Now let's start off with the vocal cords. So could you describe what is their function? What are they made of?
Okay. So if I talk about the structure of the vocal cords, I might have to show you some pictures. So the vocal cords are located in the larynx. So this is a picture of how the larynx looks from the anterior or frontal view, and this is how it looks from a side view. So this is the thyroid cartilage, which we call kind of the Adam's apple, and in a side view we can see the thyroid cartilage is over here, and that's the front part, and at the back we can see there are arytenoid and cuneiform cartilages, and these are the vocal cords, which they are made out of some flaps of tissue, and they spread from the anterior towards the posterior end of the larynx. If I go through this picture, you will see the vocal cords are V-shaped, and this anterior end of the V shape is attached to the interior of the thyroid cartilage, and these two ends are attached to the arytenoid cartilages. That's what helps the vocal cords to move during exhalation.
Yes. So that was a good description of the vocal cords. Now, how exactly do they produce sound? Like all those cartilages, all those lobules and things, how do they produce sound?
Yeah. So again, I'll go to this illustration. We know how breathing happens. We inhale and then we exhale. So when we inhale, the vocal cords are open because the air has to travel into the trachea and then to the lungs. But when speaking happens, when we exhale the air, these vocal cords are adducted to the medial position. So as you see, when we inhale, the vocal cords are open, and when we exhale and speak, the vocal cords come into a medial position and they start vibrating because of the exhaled air pressure, and that produces voice. This process is called phonation, and when we phonate, the air stream comes as voice through these vocal cords, and it is modified by articulators, which are with our teeth, our nasal cavity, palate, lips, tongue, and then produced as speech sounds.
Yes. So that was quite influential. Now, where would you say they are located? Like exactly where? It can be between the heart and the lungs itself.
Yeah. Okay. So the vocal cords are located, we can say, on the throat, inside the throat, inside this laryngeal cavity. As I told you, this is how the larynx looks in the front, and the vocal cords are located inside the laryngeal cavity.
Yes. Okay, miss. So moving on, let's talk about the diaphragm. What would you say this is? Is it just a muscle, or does it have more implications on our voice?
Actually, the diaphragm, if I talk about its structure, it's a dome-shaped muscle that is located below our lungs. It has a huge influence on our voice because if I talk about the function of the diaphragm, it is the primary muscle that assists in respiration. So respiration is helpful in producing voice. So that's the function of the diaphragm, and also the diaphragm is the muscle that separates the organs between the abdominal cavity and thoracic cavity.
Yes. So that was the diaphragm. what would you say about the nasal cavity? Can we just say it's a nose, just for breathing, like, or is it something more?
No, actually the nasal cavity has a lot to do during the production of speech. If we talk about now, yeah, the nasal cavity is also important in breathing in and out. But apart from that, it has a lot more that contributes to the characteristics of speech. So when we speak, it's not only the voice or it's not only the speech. Now, according to the situation, we might have to increase our loudness, and the nasal cavity, the pharyngeal cavity and the oral cavity plays a huge part in resonating the voice and helps you to project a louder voice. And now if you think about a nasal congestion, now think you have got a cold or something, then how would you feel?
I would feel quite sick, first of all. And second, it would be like everything's blocked up. It would be like I'm shrunk.
Yeah, you won't be able to let out that voice comfortably. And if I also talk about speech sounds, now there are speech sounds that has a nasal quality there. Sounds like m, n, they have a nasal quality. There's a nasal air emission as well. And when there's a blocked nose, what happens is we won't be able to produce these speech sounds correctly. Now just imagine if you have a cold and a blocked nose, m will sound like p. Yeah, that happens, right? Have you experienced that?
Yeah. Okay, miss. That's three things that are part of our breathing system. But breathing happens only with the air. So what are the products you can get with air? How can it differentiate? What can you state about it in its influences?
Okay. So before talking about how breathing influences our speech, I'll talk about how breathing happens. For that, I'll just get this illustration. So as I explained previously, the diaphragm is located here below your lungs, and that's the primary muscle of respiration. So when we inhale, the air travels through the nasal and oral cavity towards our lungs. What happens is the diaphragm contracts and flattens, allowing the lungs to expand, and then the inhaled air is filled in. Okay, that's how inhalation happens. And then during exhalation, the diaphragm comes to its resting position, and then the air in the lungs are pushed towards the trachea and again out through the oral and nasal cavities. Okay, so if I talk about the methods of breathing, so we have so many habitual ways of breathing. People have a clavicular breathing, people have thoracic breathing, and some have diaphragmatic breathing. So the way of breathing is very important in speaking. We usually encourage singers or people who use their voice a lot to practice diaphragmatic breathing because the widest part of the lungs are just above the diaphragm. So through practicing this diaphragmatic breathing or practicing the breathing using your stomach enhances your speech or enhances your voice sustenance and helps you to speak better.
Yes. So that was good. Now, when we speak, would the breathing techniques be compromised? How can they be compromised in any way?
Actually, as I told you, there are several breathing patterns. Now, respiration, a good breath support is the key to a strong voice unless you have any problems in your vocal cords. So breathing is key, and as I told you, a good breath support is essential to have a loud voice and to project your voice better, and especially to have less stress on your vocal cords. there are many reasons someone can lose their voice temporarily. So due to an inflammation on the larynx, which means like if you get a viral infection and if there is a swelling in your larynx, then you might lose your voice. And it's due to common cold and cough conditions, this might happen. And then even overusing your voice might cause a temporary voice loss. As I explained earlier, when you produce your voice, the vocal cords are in a medial adducted position, but then due to some conditions, due to overuse of voice, sometimes these vocal cords might not come together. It might leave a gap between, and then that might impact on your pitch and voice quality. You might end up with a hoarse voice, or you might end up with no voice at all. And sometimes even due to surgeries in the larynx, in your throat, you might have a temporary voice loss due to nerve damage. If I talk about permanent voice loss, there might be cancers in your larynx or adjacent structures, organs, and if you have to take off or remove your larynx through a surgery, then you will end up having a permanent voice loss, and then we might have to find alternative ways to speak.
Yes, miss. So can you propose ways in which we can take care of our voice? Can we condition it, make it more quality, better quality, stronger, and less prone to all these attacks?
Yes, of course. Taking care of your voice is as important as taking care of any of your other organs. The first thing is you have to stay well hydrated. It is important to stay hydrated. Try to drink at least 2 liters of water every day to support internal hydration. And then we also suggest to reduce caffeine intake. I know caffeine is like favorite part of Sri Lankans. But if you have a caffeinated drink, try to match it with a glass of water. And then another thing is try to minimize staying in dusty and dry environments, especially in the AC or in that dust-prone environments. And there are some people do have this habitual throat clearing all the time due to no reason. There's no reason behind that. So that's not good for the vocal cords. And then there are some people who have to yell. It might be because of their job or overuse their voice. Now, as an example, bus conductors might have to use their voice a lot. Teachers might be talking a lot. But it's important for them to use compensatory strategies and minimize using voice across a crowded or loud environment. That's one way of preserving your voice. You can either just use a microphone or go closer to the person and speak. You can do things like that. Even whispering is not so good. You have to always maintain your habitual pitch while speaking. Even whispering imposes a stress on your vocal cords. And then if you have a cold or cough, get it treated, get the medical treatment for that and get it treated, because excessive coughing also might be damaging your vocal cords. And if you are sick or if you feel that you have spoken a lot, give a rest to your voice. Giving rest to your body, just like giving rest to your body, giving rest to your voice is equally important.
Yes, very important.
Yeah. And another thing is the gastric reflux. We know the common term we use is gastritis. The gastric reflux might cause the redness in vocal cords and might have an impact on your voice. So it is important to reduce reflux by not having too much oily food, too much spicy food. Yeah, and another thing is we cannot stop people smoking or taking alcohol, but then again smoking or getting exposed to secondary smoking and high intake of alcohol also might have an impact on your voice. Finally, I would say it's always better to maintain a healthy lifestyle, including having plenty of sleep to have a good voice.
Thank you, Miss. That was quite a long list, and it exposes just how fragile our voice is and how we should take care of it. Even the simplest measures can have a big impact. I hope you guys had a great time today and have a wealth of information in your heads. We'll see you all next time out. Thank you.